Morning, everyone, and welcome to our Heavenly Parent Holy Community Oceania Hundoke with Reverend Yataka Yamada. Today being Tuesday, the 4th of January, or the 2nd of December in the 9th year of Chongilguk. Let's begin by offering a bow to our Heavenly Parent and True Parents. Chariot, Kyombe, Paro. And let's recite our family pledge, both in Korean and English. Thank you.
사전멘세 7. 현위극주인 우리 가족은 참 사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 생활을 통하여 심전 문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 7. Our family, the owner of Chongilguk, pledges through living for the sake of others to perfect the world based on the culture of heart, which is rooted in the original lineage by centering on true love. I'd like to ask Tim Sisserson if you could offer the opening prayer, please.
Good morning, our loving Heavenly Parent. We are so grateful, Heavenly Parent, that we have been called by you and our true parents to participate in this golden age, in the age of the revelation of a new perspective on the providence revealed by your only begotten daughter, our true mother. Heavenly Parent, please help us to have the heart to really support our true mother. She has recovered after the loss of our true father, never missed a beat, and attended daily. She is leading us through her deep prayer and inspiration and her unwavering heart and commitment to you. Heavenly Parent, please help us to reach a higher standard where we cannot allow ourselves to sit still, that we must get out, and even though we may lack in many ways, that we know that you have people prepared, and if we just get out, then surely we can meet someone and we can see that you're truly alive and working in our lives every day. Heavenly Parent, please continue to push us that we can grow, we can become people who are internally free and able to move according to your will. And sincerely thank you for all of our faithful brothers and sisters who carry on every day and who think and pray how to serve, how to become the people who can liberate the heart of our true parents, to liberate your heart, Heavenly Parent. We sincerely offer our grateful prayer today and report in the name of the Sisterson's Blessed Central Family, representing all of those present. Aju.
Thank you. Let's give a warm greeting to Reverend Yutaka as he shares this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Thank you for coming this morning devotion. Today is also beginning the day. We will put Johnson and also heart to our Heavenly Parents and to parents. So in each single moment is a precious time. Let's really create the new grateful moment. So here in Melbourne, our second generation is spending time well now. So a few person got result and another person didn't get result yet, but someone already got result as a positive. So I think confirmed to stay more than 7 days here. But the physical condition, they are okay. The 2 or 3 days ago, they are a little bit fever, but already result is positive, but the body condition is looks like already normal. But one by one, some getting little bit sick or fever, some changing, person is changing. So we are spending around maybe 20 to 30 people here. Well, so this kind of the invisible enemy, we are fighting with invisible enemy. Well, this is really the great things. But anyway, our all second gen unite well and they are preparing well. So I hope to find the solution and they are past this situation. So even government said if get the positive result, then after 7 days, even no need to get the second test. Already after 7 days, then can go back freely. So really this COVID, some restriction or regulation, well, it looks like government side is only just test one time, then no need to already some kind of assurance to be recover or something like this. And also thank you, Mr. Rai, to bring the food. Our children are so much happy. The food is really important. Eat good food, enjoying the spending time. This becomes the energy, right? So really I'm appreciate and also your support and prayer of all brothers and sisters. So thank you for this time period. And this Sunday, January 9, there is the second prayer rally for the salvation of the humankind. So Trimada is organizing the 1 million prayer rally for the unification between North and South Korea. So maybe as you know, the situation of Korean presidential election. So I'm also checking the news. Looks like, well, every day the situation is changing. Really, we don't know who will be the winner or become the president. That's why really we have to pray and Johnson. And really, we wish that God's will, the person who are appointed, prepared by God, have to become the president to lead this 7 year and a 4 year, 5 years course. So of the Korean Peninsula or South Korean providence. So central figure of the nation is really important. Our president, our prime minister, because of position of president or prime minister, the nation's direction will be totally changing. That's why now we are living not only just one country or one region, all nation or all world are going together. That's why as we are unificationists, we know the God's providence. So then we have to concern together the world providence. Oceania also, 14 nations is one nation as our three parents mentioned. So each island nation situation also changing every time. So we really pray and support. Some several nation head of states, president or prime minister, who was elected last month or November, they are the kind of the ambassador for peace who are connected with us, and they went to our movement or conference in Korea before. So somehow, really God is working and preparing the each nations. That's why God's involvement and also our portion of responsibility, if we totally unite together with our heavenly parents and with our true mother, surely we can lead and also connect and to go together with our heavenly providence and God's, the way of the God's will. So our brothers and sisters, please pray and please join and please invite our friend and also the relative and also tribal messiah and brother and sister to join this January 9, second prayer rally for the salvation of homeland. So 11:30 Sydney time and 9:30 Korean time. So please invite and also pre-join and also pray for reunification between North and South Korea. So let's see the Mother's Word. So True Mother's Anthology. So yesterday we share about Mother is now sharing about the history of God's providence. So from Adam and Eve time and the Jewish time, Israelites, and also Jesus time, and also Christianity time and Second Advent time period. So originally, Mother said, God was planning to create the Christian foundation to welcome Second Advent during 2000 years time period. That's why God led Western society to spread the Christian foundation to the world and to unite into one. This was the God's providence. And finally, as the conclusion or as the fruits of Christianity, God chose the nation of Korea and to prepare to welcome the second coming. So Korean Christianity, they believed second coming is coming in the flesh, in the person, and to prepare the spiritual or even physical foundation together at that moment. So let's read next part. You must have learned from true parents' words that the time when heaven was able to seek our humanity and achieve his will was the year 1945. In 1945, after the Second World War, the foundation of Christianity was ready in an environment where the Lord of Second Advent could be received. But that will was not realized. Historically, Korea is a nation where all the religions introduced have come to fruition. At the time when Christian history was almost 2000 years old, the history of Christianity in Korea was less than a century long. So in 1945, how much that was important at that moment, at that year, during 1945. True Father, he went through the individual life course to stand as the Messiah, to find the God's will, find the God's truth, and also find the God's person, and even fight with spiritual world, and to stand and proclaim the divine principle, God's word and God's will and secret. So that was the preparation before 1945. So during the Japanese occupation time period in Korean Peninsula, many independent group or Korean Christianity was doing activity underground. So in the Christianity, this is spiritual Christianity group receive a lot of inspiration and receive the guidance from heaven and to welcome the second advent. That's why that moment, all Christian foundations centering on Korea, they must give this spiritual foundation to inherit to Father. That providence was happened around that time period, 1945. So I think maybe we studied before how much Father's investment and Father's preparation was there at that moment. And also 2000 years ago, the Jewish and the John the Baptist, he was the one who received all foundation in the past, and he's the one who give and who inherit all spiritual foundation to Jesus. So in the same time, Korean Christianity or several central figure was standing that kind of position. So do you remember those central figures' name? Maybe we studied last time, Kim Ben-bun, Ho Ho-bin, and also even Moon Young-guk. So Father's grandfather, or there are several prepared John the Baptist figure was there, and even Christianity itself, they are the prepared figure at that moment. And finally, welcome the year of 1945. At a time when all Christians in the world were looking up at the sky, believing that the Lord of the Second Advent would appear from there, the Christians in Korea were waiting for the Lord who was directly connected to heaven and who was to come substantially in the flesh. There were even spiritual groups who received revelations on what the coming Lord would look like and what size clothes he would wear. And they made clothes for him in advance. Even in the world, when a king is to be enthroned, he needs a foundation to stand on and subject to rule. If there is no foundation and nothing is prepared in terms of ceremonial procedures or clothes, it will not be enough for somebody to just appear and say, I am king. So that time in the Korean Christianity, they are not just receiving the vague liberation. They receive very exact liberation. For example, now the second Advent is coming. So his size of body from 0 years old, from 33 years old. That time I think Father said they have to prepare fast about the Jesus age from 0 to 33. All crosses prepare for the second Advent. That's why they receive the liberation. Even they don't go to the toilet during they are making one crosses, continuously imagining and exactly preparing those clothes and things for the second Advent before 1945. So we know many spiritual Christianity were there. They are receiving. They don't communicate each other. They don't know what they are preparing. But now when we see the history, we could see this group was preparing this part. This group is preparing for this part. This group was preparing for this part. That's why God is directly giving the direction to each group and the preparing kind of as a team to welcoming the second Advent. That's why really at that moment, I can imagine how God was exciting and spiritual world was exciting to let them prepare to the each group and to finally they should have met through Father at that moment. So that much they prepare that. So Mother is mentioning about Korean Christianity. So I'm not sure in the world Christianity, is there some Christianity in the world which are believing the Messiah is coming in the flesh and receive those revelation of the second Advent and prepare all things for the Messiah? Have you heard about those news in the world except beside of Korea? So really these things was happen in Korean Peninsula. So that time North Korea, South Korea was not divided. All nation was one country, of course under Japan, but one country of Korea. And also the Pyongyang is called as the Eastern Jerusalem. That much Christianity was really developed, and so many Christianity were inspired at that moment and to welcome the second Advent. All the Christians in the world are meant to be the subjects to the coming Lord, but not one Christian denomination has made preparation to receive the coming Lord, believing in the Lord who will come upon the clouds, may be said, to be a far-fetched illogical faith. Christian history has had both Cain's side and Abel's side. Cain's side, which came into existence fast, expanded and grew phenomenally, while Abel's side had only a handful of people who could receive the Lord. So there are many Christianity in the world. They are waiting for the second Advent. But if their preparation or their liberation, their belief is not exact. The person that the second coming is coming in the flesh. Otherwise, they are not easy to attend the Messiah, even Messiah come. That's why even in the Christianity, that was separated in Cain side and Abel side. Inside of Korea, also it was the same. There was the Cain side, there was also the Abel side. So Cain side, they are, or even preparing, but they are more kind of secularized, more kind of following the government, following secure own position or own life. There is the Cain side. And Abel side Christianity, like the spirituality group, their group, even they offer their life. They totally doesn't compromise their life to welcoming the second advent. So inside of Korea, before 1945, this Abel group, spiritual group was the subject, the providence of Korea. But later, 1945, 6, 7, 8, when Abel side could not fulfill, then Cain side stood to take over, to unite with the North Korean government or another group to accuse through father. So those history was going to the future. That's why how Christianity can be united with Messiah. So those providence was going on at that moment. If Abel type spirituality Christian group welcome and united totally with the Father, and at that moment those Christianity connected to even Christianity in Korea, Cain and Abel, and also connected to Korean government, and even this one connected to the government of America and also Christianity of America, and automatically this Messiah through Father's appearance will be announced to the world. That's why just within 7 years that was fulfilled. So we know the situation. So Mother is sharing those history at that moment in 1945. So when we can learn also the background history. So when we study, when we learn, of course, studying and learning is important as the history, but those learning is not only just as the knowledge. We have to think what kind of meaning or what kind of message those history is giving to us currently. So Christian responsibility is still big and still there. So how Christianity have to do, and also how ourselves have to do. Now second coming, our true parents is here. So even from now, we have to welcome our Christianity, have to welcome the second advent and the true parents, and have to stand and have to fulfill the original role, founding role or founding purpose of the Christianity. So really, when we see the history, there are many kind of sad things or lacking point, but those things is also giving the guidance to each of us. So we have to realize, and we have to also should not repeat the same mistake, and we have to let other person to fulfill and success together with our heavenly parents and true parents. So Mother is continuously sharing. We can learn the background of history. So we will, when we meet the Christianity or when we meet the brothers and sisters, all event or all kind of a happening, also we can learn, but in the same time, if we can feel God's heart, how God was looking at the each central figure at that moment, if we could feel, if we could find the God's heart, that we can inherit, that we can share those God's heart toward Christianity and toward brother and sisters. So now really Mother continuously sharing the heart and the providence of God, Christianity, and second advent. So let's see about the next part, Cheonsongyeon. Now we are talking about God. God, what kind of existence God is. So last time Father said God is absolute, omniscient, and omnipotent. Hence, space and time do not restrict him. So we know God. God is absolute, omniscient. So God can go anywhere. God can visit anytime. And God visit and meet whoever we are. So this is God. But even God is absolute, but there is the things which God cannot resolve by himself, because there is human's portion of responsibility. That's why we have to always link our situation with God. So now many situation is happening. Even our second generation workshop, there are COVID cases happening. So if something happening, we have to think, God, what is your message? What kind of meaning? What kind of inspiration you want to give? So we have to pray and we have to find. And even there is something in the human relationship, family relationship, or our working relationship, and also our society relationship, even the government or national situation. But in the same time, there is God's will, and there is also God's wish, how we can link all the time, even small things. Today, when I wake up in the morning, I heard the beautiful voice of the birds. So happy. So God, I really appreciate you. You send this kind of the beautiful moment to us. So if we can connect, link always with God, then our life totally will be changed and we can be connected to God more. This is really God's wish to each of us. So let's see. Just a minute. Okay. So God is the vertical father and vertical subject partner, and human beings are the horizontal subject partners. Only when the vertical and the horizontal become one is a being perfected. A three-dimensional being must unite in relationships of vertical, horizontal, and front and back. The vertical relationship is the parent-child relationship. The horizontal relationship is the between east and west, husband and wife. The relationship of front and back is that between brothers and sisters. Connecting relationships in this way establishes the spherical form of the ideal of love in each family, which is the ideal of creation. Where is God in this sphere? He is at the center. God's ideal of creation is the father, husband, mother, wife, son, and daughter, all the sibling and younger sibling, each representing God, who stands as the central being. So Father is mentioning about the relationship and also our position, where we are standing now. So what is the relationship between God and myself? And what's the position? Parent-child relationship is the vertical relationship, right? Our God and myself, and our physical parents and myself, even with children, is the vertical relationship. If there is father, if there is mother, there is son and daughter, this relationship is the vertical relationship. And also public relationship. What is the east and west? This is the husband and wife. What is the front and back? This is the brother and sisters. So through this message, actually, we can get the important point. Father is sharing the relationship. Can you find something different with now social issue and also God's message? Can you find with the social issue and these things? Last time the President Hori mentioned in the second generation work time, our relationship, our existence is standing in the central position of this relationship, vertical, horizontal, front and back, west and east. This is the position of ourselves. But how is the school? How is the society? What they are emphasizing now? You are special beings. You can independent. You can do anything. You can decide by yourself. This is the education in the school. Is that correct? Basically encourage young people to stand and decide and independent by yourself, right? But important things is all people actually not standing individually. We are here, looks like we are here as the individual, but we are also connecting being with relationship with others, parents and child, and also brother and sisters, husband and wife, kind of the circle. We cannot ignore the things that in the society is not emphasizing about this relationship. That's why it was the problem. How we can emphasize again, and where God is standing now. God is standing in the central position. That's why if without knowing, we are without recognizing God, everyone will be scattered and cut the relationship. So this is the sadness. This is the problem in the society, but in the same time, this become the solution of the social problem also. That's why true parents, they are initiating the true family movement, family and the relationship, and also with God. This is a really solution. Looks like family is small when we see the society, but actually family, this relationship is the core and core, and this is really the God's most wish and really most will, desires will. So we have to really understand and recognize these things. God always takes the position of subject partner to those who dedicate their lives for a public purpose with a loyal heart. Thus, when we struggle and shed tears, God, as our subject partner, struggles and sheds tears more than we do. When we walk a public path with a burning heart of love, we stimulate God, who is a subject partner and center of love, and he always comes to us as our partner. So when we stand, God will stand together. When we shed tears, God will shed tears. When we love people, God will love people together. This kind of heart, this kind of burning heart, God is having, and they are coming together with us. So God is really the burning, or really kind of the passionate and the loving and concerning and worrying and the loving and believing us. This is God. This is our heavenly parents. That's why Father is continuously introducing us. Please recognize our heavenly parents is with you. Our God is with you. Please recognize. When you shed tears, you are not only yourself alone. When you shed tears, God is shed tears. When you struggle, God is struggling. That's why please recognize God. God is always with us and loving and they are believing us. So Father and Mother continuously introducing and sharing. This is really the secret, and this is really the God's ideal. So how we can recognize, how we can live each moment with God. If we can live God, our life totally will be changed. Even our brothers and sisters in society, if they could recognize God's existence, God's investment, their life also will be changed. So now Mother is sharing and initiating all providence. Now is the important time period when we are spending time together physically with our true parents. So each single time, single day is the historical moment. So our old brothers and sisters, really, let's prepare, put our heart and link all situation with God, even eating time, even the loving time, even meeting time, and let's offer and let's fulfill our God's vision and our true parents' wish and hope. So thank you for joining today. Today is a beautiful day. Let's have a great time. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Reverend Yutaka. Yes, let's have a great time together. I was reflecting on 1945 as you were talking, saying there was Cain and Abel Christianity, and also Christianity was less than 100 years old. I'm just wondering how much influence they even had, because right at the end of 1945, the powers, Russia and America, they actually divided Korea along the 38th parallel before the Korean War took place. So I'm wondering how much influence it really did have, Christianity, which was a minority in Korea, and how it was at the meetings, because Russia and America came together and they decided to split, and the Russian army set itself up in the north, and the American army set itself up in the south, and the two armies now China army is supporting Korea, and they let Korea build up the army with the resources from Russia and China. So I'm just wondering how, even if Christianity did say we support Father, I'm just wondering how that would have influenced the Russians and the Americans anyway. Because you mentioned that the Able were prominent Christians there, but I don't think the Able Christians were included in any talks. It was only the official government Christian group that were around, but I don't even know if they were even involved in any of the talks. So I'm just wondering how I know Father laments a lot over that time and talks about a missed opportunity, but I'm just wondering if that missed opportunity is like something that was unfortunately pre-done, just like Moses hitting the rock twice sort of set up a condition for Jesus to be attacked, and therefore Jesus went the way of the cross. I'm just wondering if there are other conditions that we don't know of that were getting in the way of Christianity really taking hold, because it could be because when we look at the course of Father, 6 times in prison, he really sacrificed and inherited Jesus's heart, and then got to the world stage. But how did he get to the world stage is basically by the sincere efforts of all the members who went out and proclaimed the word, just like Jesus sent out all his disciples to proclaim the word to every corner of the earth. Our Father did the same. So I'm just wondering, was it I know there's always opportunities. I mean, like Noah's time, if Ham had done the right thing, Noah would have been the true parent set up. He was even set up in the God position. Everyone else was gone, but still, that missed opportunity. I'm just wondering how, because Satan is always active, how much Satan influenced which group spoke to each other. So yeah. Anyway, some of my thoughts, because I often think about 1945 and the circumstances around it. Such a poor country, totally devastated, controlled by Japan, just got liberated. The Second World War. I mean, it was from the powers of the world. It was just a country that was had no say in anything, so they just split it. Anyway, they're just some of my thoughts about that time. Okay, thank you. I can see a couple of people have their hands up. Thank you, everyone. And go ahead, Chris, you're first. and then Reverend Seti after.
Yeah, thank you, John. I haven't looked up historically what happened, but my understanding is that even though America are credited with making the final decision, it was actually decided at a United Nations meeting. And there was a lot on the line there. And so there were other people voting and things like that. So from that perspective, I could see spiritually, the spiritual influence from what the Korean Christians did could have influenced other voters and the final decision about how Korea was divided. So there's a revelation by Edgar Casey that says that the United Nations would meet at that time and that Christ himself would sit on that meeting. So indicating that there was a huge spiritual Christian influence there. So that's sort of one way the spiritual influence could have turned the other way if the Christians had been more successful. Anyway, that's my understanding. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Go ahead, Reverend Seti.
Good morning, Reverend Itaka, brothers and sisters. I just thought about what John was talking about. Reverend John was the potency of influence of the Christian sphere. Yeah, I once read a book about the early Christianity in Pyongyang, and yeah, they were really another amazing phenomena there. And I would guess that I'm just relating it to how our government was formed, our first government. And you know, in that first government of Samoa, 1962, the people that sat down to create the constitution were two of our kingly families, chiefs, high chiefs. One eventually became the prime minister, and the other the head of state. But also there was the United Nations and the New Zealand envoys, the political envoys. And also they had one particular, Richardson. He was a guy that stayed with Samoa. Actually, he was married to a Samoan, but he was well versed in forming government and constitutions, etc. So he was with us in the formation of our government. So that's how it could be so stable quickly. You know, God really prepared a lot of things. So when we talk about the able Christianity, I would say, you know, yes, of course, there's able Christianity of the Christians, but I dare say also that also within our the allied nations, there's Cain and Abel as well, as we saw in the you know, the influence of MacArthur and the president, right? MacArthur wanted to drive communism, you know, all the way up until it's gone, you know, just kill it, you know. But the president was more thinking from diplomatic and listening to the political voices rather than to God's voice. So, yeah, there's quite a, what I'm saying is that in the formation of our government, the Christian voice and the indigenous voice was so strong, and it really influenced the way, and that's why we have Samoa is founded on Christian principles, and our how do you say, Samoan values, family values. I just wanted to respond to that because I do believe, you know, Father could have sat, you know, could have sat in on, just like our chiefs sat in on and influenced what was going into that constitution. I really believe that kind of moment could have happened. And also at that time, there was such a mindset of the new allied, right, the League of Nations and the allied nations, that they wanted to give, right, a say to the conquered people. So I really, yeah, I can see how it could have happened, you know. otherwise, yesterday was the every 3rd of January on my great grandmother's side. Her name is Lole. We have our lots of Samoan families. We have special worship services to bless our tribes and to bless the work of God within our tribes, meaning that we call Lupefalele, which means the doves of peace from within our tribes, meaning the Christian, church leaders. I think it comes from the time of the epidemic of the Spanish influenza, when our population was so decimated by the mistake of the New Zealand government bringing the influenza into Samoa. So we set up these worship services and prayer days for many tribes of Samoa have that. And if they're good, they continue to this day. So on both sides of my tribes, they have these days. And yesterday, the 13th is my father's side, and the 3rd is my great grandmother's side. And this one yesterday was the first time that I attended. Actually, for some strange reason, it's never happened. But I participated yesterday, and my great grandma Lole, she's kind of the matriarch of the family that really held my father's tribe together. Small lady, and the eldest of 6 siblings. But I really felt my ancestors yesterday in this first meeting, and they call our family the family of pastors, of church leaders, and well known in the village. And the main meeting house, every Samoan family has a main meeting house, and the main meeting house has been broken since a storm a few years back. So we were gathering to talk about how to create this main meeting house, which is so essential in the running of our tribes. So I really felt, I was grateful that I could meet over a dozen church ministers from many different denominations, and including some of the elders from the mainline churches. So I wished, we're talking this morning with Reverend Yutaka about preparation for the Messiah and preparation for the Lord, and how Reverend Yutaka is talking that we have to look into our own environment. How is God preparing? And we're the ones here to decipher how God is working in our nation, right? And then how we have to, how we move the checker, the checker point, checker, the pieces to make it work, So it's very much, as we say, the sacred relationship centered on God. I really felt that last night was that it was far beyond me. I'm here because my ancestors put me here, as the Chonbo challenger, as the, I'm here as the heavenly tribe messiahs, and I really have a role. I must, find a way to connect to all these lines of my lineage, and to bring them into Chonbo, gateway. So I was just appreciating that, and it kind of linked in also to what Mary was talking about yesterday morning, and what Reverend Yutaka talking about now. So it's a new year. We have to refresh and think again how we move these sacred relationships. And I'm sure that also I'm considering some matching for my daughter. It's a matter of lineages linking up, and so I talk with her, it's not just you two, it's lineages linked up, and so we also have to consider that. As I can hear in the heart of Reverend Yutaka, that's the sadness of the of the, you know, limited push of view that everything's centered on me. No, nothing's centered on me only, you know, nothing is. We are a fruit of history, and we have to understand where we sit in that history. And given it's a scattered history, but we have a center of unity now. We know who God is, and we know what God's principles are, and we know the divine design, and we have to make it happen. And we need to pull our lineages from wherever we are, you know, and whatever, you know, the Greek history, you know, we have to link it up, you know, connect it up. And that's the pieces we got to put together. Thank you. Just thoughts from today.
Yeah, thank you, Reverend Seti. Thank you. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's really putting the jigsaw puzzle together at the final stages. It kind of gets a bit easier to figure it out, and that's really kind of where we're at. I know when the missionaries came from Germany to New Zealand, Sigrid and Elizabeth, actually a group of people joined. And at that time in New Zealand, there were many groups of young people, same as like in America and everywhere. They were gone out into the woods and, you know, living in communes and so forth, trying to sort of find, I guess, a deeper understanding about life and its meaning. And so we had good fortune in New Zealand. We're a whole community. I mean, many friends, even Rustic, you can see there was one of this group that joined back in 1970s when those missionaries came. And anyway, just talking about Korean Christianity and in Pyongyang, I don't know whether I mentioned this before, but Billy Graham's wife grew up part of her life in Pyongyang, and her parents were missionaries in Pyongyang, and she was born in China where her parents were missionaries. So you can see with such a powerful lineage as the Billy Graham's wife, and you know, born in lived in Pyongyang. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, even other than meetings at the UN. How God is entrenched and prepared, His providence in Korea at that time. So yeah, anyway, just many things going on. And as I began by saying, we're just trying to think strategically now. Even in New Zealand now, you know, there are groups of people that are prepared and just around us, you know, and waiting for us to connect with them and just, you know, fit them into God's providence to build this, build a Chanukuk nation and region. So it's a really exciting time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And last person for today, go ahead, Margaret.
Good morning, everyone. Just on that point, John, that you brought up, at UTS, there is a course called Unification Movement by Dr. Mickler. And I remember we went through that time period. It was the most intense time for Father, because getting the political leader at that time was with a nation that is just forming was crucial. So in case anyone wants to go deeper into that, you can find it in the Journal of Unification Studies and uts.org. But it's a valid point to understand just how serious Father was in the beginning, because he wanted to get the leadership and right away form a new developing nation. And I do agree with Seti, we have to look at our situation as tribal messiahs, that we don't expect someone to come in and find these jewels of the providence. We are the ones in our every situation to discover. So just case in point, I knew that women are strong in Palau, and going after the First Lady was crucial. Just going directly to Tommy, was not going to go anywhere because of his political career. You know, he has to listen to this and that person, and a religious leader is second to his political career. So we have to find ways to find the key people that can make a difference in the providence. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because that there's many components to that time period when Father was trying to win. And if memory serves, the first president of Korea, his wife was an American. So that could have been an opportunity for early members to go after that wife and witness to her, because she knew what was happening, at least in her own understanding of Christianity. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, everyone. It's at that time again for us to offer our 7-minute prayer. So I'll just share the screen and let's pray together. Aju, Aju, Aju. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and see you tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.